Hello everyone, it's Teacher Markee once again, and welcome to another video lecture. Today's topic is about the evolution of media. By the end of this video, you should be able to examine the technology or resources available during the prehistoric age, the industrial age, the electronic age, and the new or digital age. Identify the devices used by people to communicate with one another, store information, and broadcast information across the different ages. Let's get started. Media fulfills several basic roles in our society. One obvious role, for example, is entertainment. Media can also provide information and education and can act as a public forum for the discussion of important issues. Media can also serve as a springboard for our imaginations, a source of fantasy, and an outlet to escape reality. Although media has many uses and benefits, it is important to remember that not all media are created equal. It has gone through several stages of evolution, and in each stage, devices used to communicate, store, and broadcast information were enhanced to fit the needs of the public. Media evolution is divided into four different ages. The pre-industrial age, which happened before the 1700s. The industrial age, which happened from the 1700s to the 1930s. The electronic age, which happened from the 1930s to the 1980s. And the information age, which started from the 1990s up to the present time. Let's talk about the pre-industrial age first, which took place before the 1700s. Some of the highlights of the pre-industrial age are the discovery of fire, development of paper from plants, and forgery of weapons and tools with stone, bronze, copper, and iron. Due to the absence of machines for communication during this age, people used any available resources in their surroundings to write or to transmit messages. Here are some examples of the earliest means of communication during the pre-industrial age. Cave paintings in 35,000 BCE. Most cave art consists of paintings made with either red or black pigment. The red were made with iron oxides or hematite, whereas manganese dioxide and charcoal were used for the blacks. Engravings were made with fingers on soft walls or with flint tools on hard surfaces in a number of other caves and shelters. Next is papyrus in Egypt in 2500 BCE. Papyrus is first known to have been used in Egypt, or at least as far back as the First Dynasty, as the papyrus plant was once abundant across the Nile Delta. It was also used throughout the Mediterranean region and in the Kingdom of Kush. Clay tablets in Mesopotamia in 2400 BC. Clay tablets were a medium used for writing. They were common in the Fertile Crescent from about the 5th millennium BC. A clay tablet is a more or less flat surface made of clay. Using a stylus, symbols were pressed into the soft clay. It is possible to correct errors on the tablet. The tablet was then baked until dry and hard, either by leaving it out in the sun or in a fire. Sun-baked tablets could be moistened and recycled. The ones that survived thousands of years were baked in fire. They were used by the Sumerian civilization in Mesopotamia. Next is Acta Diurna in Rome in 130 BCE. Acta Diurna, also called Acta Populi, Acta Publica, and simply Acta or Diurna in ancient Rome, was a sort of daily government gazette containing an officially authorized narrative of noteworthy events at Rome. Its contents were partly official, like court news, decrees of the Roman emperor, Roman Senate, and Roman magistrates, and partly private, like notices of births, marriages, and deaths. Thus, to some extent, it filled the place of the modern newspaper. Dibao in China in the 2nd century. Dibao, which literally means reports from the official residences, were a type of publications issued by central and local governments in Imperial China, which was the only official government newspaper published by the ancient Chinese central government in different dynasties. Mayan Codex in the 5th century. Maya codices are folding books written by the pre-Columbian Maya civilization in Maya hieroglyphic script on Mesoamerican bark paper. The folding books are the products of professional scribes working under the patronage of deities. Most of the codices were destroyed by conquistadors and Catholic priests in the 16th century. Woodblock's printing press in 220 AD. Woodblock printing or block printing is a technique for printing text, images, or patterns used widely throughout East Asia and originating in China in antiquity as a method of printing on textiles and later paper. Next is the Industrial Age, from 1700s to the 1930s. This is a period of history that encompasses the changes in economic and social organization that began around 1760 in Great Britain and later in the other countries, characterized chiefly by the replacement of hand tools with power-driven machines such as the power loom and the steam engine. Some of the highlights of the Industrial Age are the use of the power of steam, development of machine tools, establishment of iron production, and the manufacturing of books through the printing press. Here are some examples of the earliest means of communication during the Industrial Age. Printing press in the 19th century. In Germany, goldsmith Johannes Gutenberg invented the movable type printing press, which started the printing revolution. When the printing press was invented, there was a shift from the laborious manuscript making to the codex print, allowing many copies of written work to be quickly created, in turn providing greater access to information for all and providing the framework for the gradual transformation of societal literacy. The London Gazette in 1640. The London Gazette is one of the official journals of record or government gazettes of the Government of the United Kingdom, and the most important among such official journals in the United Kingdom, in which certain statutory notices are required to be published. It was first published as the Oxford Gazette on November 7, 1665. Charles II and the royal court had moved to Oxford to escape the Great Plague of London, and courtiers were unwilling to touch London newspapers for fear of contagion. The Gazette was not a newspaper in the modern sense. It was sent by post to subscribers, not printed for sale to the general public. Typewriter, 1800. The first practical typewriter was completed in September 1867, although the patent was not issued until June 1868. The man who was responsible for this invention was Christopher Latham Sholes of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The first commercial model was manufactured in 1873 and was mounted on a sewing machine stand. On March 7, 1876, Alexander Graham Bell, scientist, inventor, and innovator, received the first patent for an apparatus for transmitting vocal or other sounds telegraphically, a device he called the telephone. Motion picture photography, dating from the 1890s, is one of the oldest of modern imaging technologies that remain current today. When the still pictures are projected progressively and rapidly onto a screen, the eye perceives motion. Hence, they become a motion picture. This is termed persistence of vision. Motion picture with sounds. A sound film is a motion picture with synchronized sound, or sound technologically coupled to image, as opposed to a silent film. The first known public exhibition of projected sound films took place in Paris in 1900, but decades passed before sound motion pictures were made commercially practical. Reliable synchronization was difficult to achieve with the early sound on disc systems, and amplification and recording quality were also inadequate. Innovations in sound on film led to the first commercial screening of short motion pictures using the technology, which took place in 1923. Telegraph. As the first means of long distance communication, the telegraph changed the shape of American society. The telegraph expanded the business possibilities and expedited the work of a variety of professions, including bankers, brokers, lawyers, and hotel proprietors. In 1843, Morse built a telegraph system from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore with the financial support of Congress. On May 24, 1844, the first message, "What hath God wrought?" was sent. Punch cards. Punch cards date back to the late 18th and early 19th centuries when they were used to program cloth-making machinery and looms. In the 1800s and 1890s, Herman Hollerith used them with his tabulators, a core product of what would eventually become IBM. Next is the electronic age from 1730s to 1980s. The invention of the transistor ushered in the electronic age. People harnessed the power of transistors that led to the transistor radio, electronic circuits, and the early computers. In this age, long-distance communication became more efficient. Here are some examples of media and technology during the electronic age. Transistor radio. A transistor radio is a small, portable radio receiver that uses transistor-based circuitry. Following the invention of the transistor in 1947, the Regency TR-1 was released in 1954, becoming the first commercial transistor radio. Television. Electronic television was first successfully demonstrated in San Francisco, California on September 7, 1927. The system was designed by Philo Taylor Farnsworth, a 21-year-old inventor who had lived in a house without electricity until he was 14. In the experimental days of television, the very first full-length program broadcast in the U.S. was a drama in one act called The Queen's Messenger by J. Harley Manners. Next are the large electronic computers like EDSAC, or the Electronic Delay Storage Automatic Calculator in 1949, and UNIVAC 1, or the Universal Automatic Computer 1 in 1951. The EDSAC is a large-scale electronic calculating machine in which ultrasonic delay units are used for storage of orders and numbers. It is serial in operation and works in the scale of 2. punch tape is used for input and a teleprinter for output. On the other hand, the UNIVAC 1 was designed as a commercial data processing computer, intended to replace the punch card accounting machines of the day. It could read 7,200 decimal digits per second. It did not use binary numbers, making it by far the fastest business machine yet built. Mainframe computer like IBM 704 in 1960 and personal computers like HP or Hewlett-Packard 9100A in 1968 and the first Apple Computer 1 in 1976 were also invented during the electronic age. The IBM 704 data processing system was a large-scale computer designed for engineering and scientific calculations. The Hewlett-Packard 9100A or HP 9100A is an early programmable calculator or computer, first appearing in 1968. HP called it a desktop calculator. The 9100A was the first scientific calculator by the modern definition. The Apple Computer 1, originally released as the Apple Computer and known later as the Apple I, is a desktop computer released by the Apple Computer Company, now Apple Inc., in 1976. It was designed by Steve Wozniak, and the idea of selling the computer came from Wozniak's friend and the co-founder Steve Jobs. The Apple I went on sale in July 1976 at a price of $666.66. The invention of overhead projector and LCD projector also happened during the electronic age. And lastly, we have the information age, which started from the 1990s to the 2000s. The information age began around the 1970s and is still going on today. It is also known as the computer age, digital age, or new media age. This era brought about a time period in which people could access information and knowledge easily. There were many different inventions that came about because of the information age, one of which was the internet. The internet allowed people to access information with the touch of a button. Here are some examples of media and technology during the information age. Laptop. The first laptop computer available to the public was the Osborne 1. The Osborne Computer Corporation released this model in 1981. It cost $1,795 at the time of release. Tablets. In 1972, Alan Kay, an American computer scientist, came up with the concept of a tablet named Dynabook, which he detailed in his writings that he later published. Kay envisioned a personal computing device for children that works pretty much like a PC. Netbook. The first notebook computer was introduced in 1981, but they were very expensive and not as versatile as they are today. IBM and Epsom both placed versions of portable laptops on the market in 1983. Even with some models emerging, notebook computers were an item often associated with high-profile businessmen. Different web browsers and search engines were also developed, beginning with Mosaic in 1993. Mosaic was developed in the United States by Mark Andreessen and others at the National Center for Supercomputer Applications at the University of Illinois and was released in September 1993. Next is Internet Explorer in 1995. The Internet Explorer project was started in the summer of 1994 by Thomas Reeden. After being launched in 1995, Internet Explorer became one of the most popular tools for accessing the Internet. Firefox in 2002. Mozilla Firefox, or simply Firefox, is a free, open source web browser developed by the Mozilla Foundation and its subsidiary, the Mozilla Corporation. Firefox was created in 2002 under the codename Phoenix. During its beta phase, Firefox proved to be popular with its testers and was praised for its speed, security, and add-ons compared to Microsoft's then dominant Internet Explorer 6. Firefox was released on November 9, 2004, and challenged Internet Explorer's dominance with 60 million downloads within 9 months. Safari in 2003. Safari is a graphical web browser developed by Apple. It is supported on Mac OS, iOS, and iPad OS. A Windows version was offered from 2007 to 2010. Safari was introduced within Mac OS X Panther in January 2003, and as of 2021, has progressed through 15 major versions. Google Chrome in 2008. Google Chrome is a cross-platform web browser developed by Google. It was first released in 2008 for Microsoft Windows, built with free software components from Apple WebKit and Mozilla Firefox. It was later ported to Linux, Mac OS, iOS, and Android, where it is the default browser. The browser is also the main component of Chrome OS, where it serves as the platform for web applications. Various kinds of social networking services also became widespread, beginning with Friendster in 2002. Friendster was a social network game based in Mountain View, California, founded by Jonathan Abrams in 2002 and launched in March 2003. Users could share videos, photos, messages, and comments with other members via profiles and networks. It is considered one of the original social networks. Multiply in 2003. Multiply was a social networking service with an emphasis on allowing users to share media, such as photos, videos, and blog entries, with their real-world network. The website was launched in March 2004. Multiply had over 11 million registered users. Next is Facebook in 2004. Facebook is a social networking service originally launched as FaceMash on October 28, 2003, before changing its name to The Facebook on February 4, 2004. It was founded by Mark Zuckerberg and his other college roommates. With roughly 2.91 billion monthly active users as of the fourth quarter of 2021, Facebook is the most used online social network worldwide. Twitter in 2006. Twitter is an American microblogging and social networking service on which users post and interact with messages known as tweets. Registered users can post, like, and retweet tweets, but unregistered users can only read those that are publicly available. And lastly, Instagram in 2010. Instagram is an American photo and video sharing social networking service founded by Kevin Systrom and Mike Krieger. In April 2012, Facebook Incorporated acquired the service for approximately $1 billion in cash and stock. Originally launched in iOS in October 2010, Instagram rapidly gained popularity. With 1 million registered users in 2 months, 10 million in a year, and 1 billion as of June 2018. Now that we've learned about the evolution of media across 4 different ages, you might wonder why it is important. Media is an integral part of our lives. The study of its history is important because it helps us understand the past, the present, and the future. Through an understanding of where the media came from, we can predict things by seeing how they happened before. Also, by looking at the history of media, we don't lose sight of an important legacy that helps bind our community together, and so that we don't forget why things are as they are. Here's a matrix showing how various media devices and platforms were utilized by people in order to communicate with one another, store information, and share or broadcast information across all ages.